Hey, are you looking to improve your longevity, to live longer, but think sharper, have more energy, better brain function, better skin health, less wrinkles, fine lines? Do you want to live your best? This is the episode for you. We're going to talk all about the hallmarks of aging. We're also going to talk about how important mitochondrial function is and really keeping oxidative stress or this kind of internal rusting under control. And we're going to talk about the most well-researched nutrients and compounds that you can take to reduce the aging process and to really thrive in life. And so I've got one of the world's leading experts when it comes to longevity. He also happens to be my best friend, lives about 10 minutes down the road, and he was the best man in my wedding. I've got my good friend, Dr. Isaac Jones, right here with me. That's right, from elevase.com. And Dr. Isaac, you and I have known each other for over 20 years now.
Yes.
Best friends, raising our families together.
Yeah.
And you've done some amazing research when it comes to longevity and improving longevity. And so I'm excited about this conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you look at the way that we lived our lives when we were roommates in school, I mean, we were living that kind of blue zones lifestyle, that longevity lifestyle, even, 20 years ago when we were getting our doctorate. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that science has come a long way, but a lot of the things that we were doing is validating the fasting that we would do, the cold plunging that we would do, all of the things that we would do early on. We wake up early and work out together, and all of the research around exercise and things of that nature. But we're going to talk today about some of the most breakthrough, cutting-edge nutrients for longevity and how it really will help you live a longer, healthier life, and not just increase lifespan, which is the number of years in your life, but health span, which is the quality of years in your life, which is really, some people would argue, more important than longevity and how long you live is the life in your years,
Yeah, I think that's so important because modern medicine has helped us live longer, but most people are not living healthy, right?
Yes.
It's particularly as they get older, right? They hit a certain level and then it's like they're on medications, right? They're taking 1, 2, 3, and it's like once you start one, it seems like all of a sudden you're on 4 or 5 medications, okay? A lot of people are getting different types of surgeries, things like that. And then, I mean, there's a huge industry now for assisted living, for, a lot of people developing dementia, Alzheimer's, and needing help in their later years of life.
Yes.
And I remember, when I was an undergrad, I actually volunteered at one of these kind of assisted living type places, and the people were not happy there,
No.
and they really weren't living the life that they wanted to live. And this is near the end of their life, and it was really, really sad. And so what are we looking at today? Like, it's not really just about living longer.
Yeah.
It's about really being healthy and being able to thrive later in life.
Yeah, like we want to be able to thrive. We want to be able to make 100 the new 30. We want to live inside of questions like, how can we maximize our potential as we age? We want to think about, how can we live well beyond 120, right? If we're living inside of these new questions, the quality of the questions that you ask yourself will determine the quality of answers that you get. So most people are not asking the right questions, right?
Yeah.
They automatically have a program that states to them that my grandma died of cancer, my grandfather died of heart disease, my dad died of Alzheimer's, and guess what? I'm just going to fall in that same kind of path, but it doesn't have to be you. We know now from the new science of epigenetics that when you shift the epigenome, you can literally shift the expression of genes that can help you either stimulate and turn on longevity and high performance pathways within the cell, or essentially turn on disease generating pathways within the body. So it's our choice, which is very exciting. And my hat's off to you for just getting as much content out there and changing and transforming as many lives as you have with your blog, with your podcast, and all the other things that you're doing. But, it's a perfect transition when you talk about the senior living facilities. People think that aging is an exponential, a linear process. So you're born and then you essentially die right over here, okay? But it's actually an exponential process. So you're born, your quality of life is pretty good, and then you just drop off a cliff, right? There's something that happens, it drops off. It's typically somebody that slips, falls, they break a hip, they have some sort of injury, and then that creates accelerated aging, cancer, heart disease, whatever it might be. And it causes all of the hallmarks of aging to almost create this positive feedback loop, which will essentially create like an even faster aging process. So there are all these different hallmarks of aging that we can talk about that people in the senior living facilities psychologically have kind of checked out. They say, hey, this is the latter year of my life. I'm not going to push my body anymore. I'm not going to take any supplements. I'm not going to be, doing the things that will help me live a healthy, more vibrant life. And that's one of the elements, the psychological element of what you're thinking between your 2 ears that will also accelerate the hallmarks of aging, right? So we could transition and talk about some of the hallmarks. There's mitochondrial dysfunction. There is telomere attrition, which is a shortening of the kind of like shoelace end of your chromosome. You've got stem cell exhaustion. You've got loss of proteostasis, which is the healthy protein structures of your body. You've got a microbiome, dysregulation. There's a lot more that we could talk about, but we could start talking a little bit about maybe some of these hallmarks, and then how when you trigger one hallmark, you actually trigger other hallmarks, and it leads to a positive feedback loop.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, right? So you start going down this tread of chronic disease, right? I always say developing chronic disease is kind of like, if you're, let's say you're diagnosed with dementia or with diabetes or, whatever it is, heart disease, it's kind of like a Mack truck going downhill. Like this 18-wheeler just started by hitting the gas.
Yeah.
And it started driving, and then all of a sudden it picked up enough momentum and it started going downhill. And so it's going down hard and fast. In order to stop that chronic disease development, you can't just slam the brakes, right? Because, that's not going to end well. You actually have to decelerate slowly, get it to a stop, and then turn it around and go back uphill. So it's kind of this momentum process. And this is what you're talking about here with this positive feedback cycle, or this vicious cycle where when the mitochondria, for example, we want to talk about all these hallmarks, become damaged, now it starts to affect the proteins within the cell, right? That create all these critical components, and they start not being able to function well. Now the cell membrane isn't able to function well. And so we start getting kind of this whole vicious cycle of problems that occur. We kind of have to decelerate that process and then kind of turn on the natural healing mechanisms to regenerate all of these things naturally.
Yes. And yesterday I flew into Wake Forest University Institute of Regenerative Medicine. I spent time with Dr. Anthony Atala, who was actually talking about what he believes is the number one cause of aging. He said oxidative stress, which is inflammation in your body, builds up and it causes apoptosis to healthy cells that then leads to fibrosis. And he said it's the buildup of fibrosis, which is fibrous tissue in the body that's kind of dead tissue, that leads to the acceleration of aging, because as it goes through the apoptosis process, you end up releasing all of these toxins and chemicals within your body, and then you get fibrotic tissue. And he said, if you look at Alzheimer's patients, if you look at heart disease patients, there's all this fibrotic tissue that slowly builds up because of the hallmarks of aging.
Now, fibrotic tissue would be like scar tissue, basically.
Exactly.
Kind of like, on my hands here, like I've got like some calluses from lifting weights and things like that. And so, this is okay on my skin, but inside the body, like if the blood vessels are developing these calluses that are not healing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what he said yesterday is he's done this in the laboratory. He's figured out how to get rid of this fibrotic tissue. He's then moved into animal studies, and he's removing fibrotic tissue in the animals, and they're living so much longer, so much healthier. We're talking about like transformative longevity in these animals. And now we're moving into essentially human studies, which is exciting. But if you think about it, what causes oxidative stress, right? If you look at what causes oxidative stress, you could definitely say that stress causes oxidative stress. Your mindset can cause oxidative stress. The way that you eat causes oxidative stress. The lack of exercise causes oxidative stress. These are all the things that lead to damaging the cells, that lead to the development of fibrotic tissue inside the body.
And oxidative stress, real quick, is kind of like internal rusting.
Right.
right? It's like a
Right.
browning of an apple. Like if you take a bite out of an apple and you just let it sit there, it's going to start to brown.
Yes.
That's oxidation. That's what's happening inside of all of the cells of our body. It's a normal process,
Yes.
but we have to be able to buffer it and keep it under
Exactly.
control. Because if it's not, it's the precursor to inflammation, right? And then that inflammation can become chronic and systemic all throughout our body and never shut off, right?
Yes.
Ultimately leading to fibrotic tissue and chronic disease.
Exactly. So let's talk about the microbiome. So the microbiome, which you've got, hundreds of trillions of bacteria within your body that communicates to your nervous system, communicates throughout your body. It's very healthy. It's symbiotic in respect to the tissue. If you got rid of your microbiome, you'd, get rid of your life, because it's a part of our human, way of living and optimizing our health. But our microbiome gets dysregulated, and that leads to the overdevelopment of unhealthy bacteria, let's say Candida, or you've got some of these other bacteria that can be very problematic for the development of inflammation. And so this drives more inflammation inside the body. You've got mitochondrial dysfunction. And when you've got mitochondrial dysfunction, mitochondria is like the power plant of your body. By weight, your mitochondria is the same weight as a bowling ball. So it's if you took your neck and your head and you concentrated all the mitochondria in your body, it would make up your neck and your head. That's how much mitochondria is in your body. But and it's important, obviously, because that's what develops your energy. So if you essentially have mitochondrial dysfunction, which a lot of people have, because of lipid peroxidation of the mitochondrial membrane, which is the lipid bilayer of the mitochondria and the lipid bilayer of the cells, they start to oxidize because of oxidative stress, because of inflammation, then you can't get healthy nutrients into the mitochondria. The mitochondria is now outputting less ATP, which is the energy and the life force of your body. And there's a number of other issues that ends up taking place. But the cascade of the effects of this is that there's all of these other challenges when you have decreased energy, and you end up creating like this positive feedback loop of messaging RNA molecules and DNA expressions on your actual genome that are not healthy, and they're actually very diseased, producing and developing. So these are some of the the positive feedback loops that happen. If you've got an unhealthy microbiome, it pushes unhealthy mitochondria. Unhealthy mitochondria pushes unhealthy microbiome. Then it can lead to a shortening of your telomere, which increases aging. It increases the damage of your DNA, which increases aging, which increases oxidative species and reactive oxidative species and oxidative stress. So it's this positive feedback loop, like you said, the Mack truck. And like you said, you can't just slam on the brakes. You got to slow down slowly and then turn it around. And then even though there's some work to going back up the hill, it's a rewarding, process. And then when you get to the top of the hill and you start coasting down the other side, you're like, yes, you're like, I've made it, and you're finally creating a lifestyle and a system of longevity that you can use these nutrients we're going to talk about in a moment that can shortcut your success to living longer and healthier.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. I mean, you got to build that positive health momentum. And they say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a footstep, right? You got to take the first step. And that's key. And lifestyle is a huge factor. I mean, I always say, really being healthy, it's going to be 80 to 90% lifestyle. We're going to talk about supplements, and we're going to talk about the longevity stack that Dr. Isaac here has developed, which is really powerful. And he was talking about nutrients I hadn't even heard of, right? Some of this newest research that's out that we're going to go through. But what you guys have to remember is that lifestyle is so critical, right? Just getting out and walking, thinking right, like Dr. Isaac was talking about here, having the right thoughts, eating the right foods, nutrient-dense foods, having positive relationships, getting out in the sun, really prioritizing good sleep. That's kind of your foundation. You've got to really, really focus on that. You can't out-supplement a bad lifestyle, but the supplements can really help boost your momentum and push you faster, further, right? Or further, faster, I should say. And that can be really helpful. So let's talk about some of these key nutrients.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And just before that, I'd love to just share something from a psychological perspective. If I ask the question, how long do you think you're going to live till? you would then say, oh, well, I think I'm going to live to how long my mom lived to, or my dad, or my grandfather or grandmother. And so you may come up with the 70 or the 86 or something like that. If you ask a business owner, hey, how much growth do you want to have this year? And they say, I want to have like 5% growth. And then you ask another business owner and you say, how much business growth do you want to have? And they say, I want to have 50% growth or 100% growth. As soon as the business owner says, I want to have 50% growth or 100% growth, you actually have to ask yourself different questions. You have to think differently about business to grow and double your business versus grow 5%. And so this is the challenge that I would give to the listener, which is how can you think differently about how long you want to live? So as soon as you start to set a goal that, hey, I want to live till I'm 90. Hey, I want to live till I'm 100. Hey, I want to live till 110 or 120. All of a sudden, you have to start thinking differently psychologically about the people you choose to listen to, the environment that you surround yourself with, the food that you eat, and the nutrients that you take. And the nutrients that you take, not just once a month, but every day, right? For the rest of your life, that will help you live a longer, healthier, more vibrant life. So I just challenge you to shift the psychology of how long you think you can live to up level it, and then start believing that you can live that long. And it's an amazing time in which we live, and that we're able to actually integrate things that will enable us to do that, like these nutrients that we'll talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Really well said. And so let's talk about some of these key nutrients when it comes to overall longevity.
So Hobamine is a new nutrient that has been incredible at reducing oxidative stress. Isolevugladins or iso-LGs are a process or essentially a byproduct of reactive oxidative species impacting and essentially interacting with the lipid bilayers of both the cell and the mitochondria, and wherever there's lipids within the body, within all the organelles of the body. And so what ends up happening is when a reactive oxidative species steals electrons from these structures and from the lipids, it actually essentially oxidizes the lipids. So it's called lipid peroxidation. And when you have lipid peroxidation, you end up having unhealthy fat, right? Think of it as kind of like trans fats or toxic fats then in the cells of your body and in the the lipid bilayer that makes up the mitochondria, et cetera. So Hobamine has been shown that actually it derives from buckwheat, has actually been shown as a very powerful antioxidant to help to rid the body of these iso-LGs that will essentially, cause people to age faster and create even more rapid aging. So this is a very exciting nutrient that not only has helped and been shown in the research to address these free radicals, but has also shown to boost immune system function. So it almost acts as kind of like a vitamin D to the body, where people's immune system function is able to boost quite dramatically. So this is a longevity nutrient and ingredient that a lot of longevity experts are now talking about. I found out about this from the chief science officer at Fountain Life, who's a researcher, PhD medical doctor, that was like, have you heard of 2-HOBA? Have you heard of 2-Hobamine? And I was like, no. And so she explained it to me, and I'm like, wow, this is breakthrough. Because if we can start to help to reverse a lot of the inflammation in our cellular membrane, both externally around the cell and also internally in the organelles, I mean, we're going to help ourselves live a lot longer, healthier lives.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hobamine, this is the first time I've heard of it, was you texted me on your way over here saying, hey, check out this nutrient I'm going to talk about. And so I'd never heard of it, but I do realize that the lipid bilayer, the lipid membrane in the mitochondria is so critical. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I say, hey, we really need to reduce the amount of seed oils that we consume, because they can actually get into that cardiolipin membrane of the mitochondria, and they increase oxidative stress significantly over like healthy fats, like saturated fats that are in there, the right ratio of saturated fats, omega-6, omega-3. If you get too much linoleic acid, it drives up the overall oxidative stress in that mitochondria. And so most people are out there, they're consuming seed oils when they go to restaurants, when they,
totally.
processed foods, salad dressings, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yes.
So they need to reduce that oxidative stress in that membrane.
And exactly. And this nutrient helps you do that.
Yeah.
And address that iso-LG that we're talking about as well. So yeah, ideally don't eat vegetable oil. Do not eat oxidative fats and trans fats. Okay.
Yeah, even though it says vegetable and seed, it's not
It's like the most brilliant marketing ploy of history. Taking toxic fat and calling them vegetable oil,
right,
and then putting it in people's bodies. So Urolithin A is the second ingredient. Urolithin A helps maximize mitochondrial function. It actually promotes mitophagy and autophagy within the cell, which is a really important process inside of the context of longevity, because you want to get rid of kind of old organelles in your cell and old cells just in general. But one of the things that I love about Urolithin A is that when you age, your muscle mass decreases. And so Urolithin A actually promotes the health of the muscular structure within your body and the integrity of the muscle cells within your body. So not only does it dramatically help with mitochondrial function, it actually helps to up-level the health of your muscle tissue, which again, as you age, it's one of the primary, if you look at the Framingham study, there are a number of different things they found out in the Framingham study that really accelerated aging in people. One was lung capacity. So if we have decreased lung capacity, that accelerates aging because we're getting less oxygen to our tissues. So that's why I recommend as you're aging to use a spirometer or like a little breath, exercise thing where you can breathe into it. It creates resistance. It's like an exercise for your lungs. And you just do it like for 10 breaths twice a day. And it helps to strengthen your diaphragm so you can increase your lung capacity. And I'm sure, indirectly helps with your VO2 max, which is another predictor for longevity and health. But the other thing is we lose muscle mass and muscle tissue. So Urolithin A helps you maintain healthy muscle cells and prevent against this process, because as you continue to lose muscle mass, typically that's when we start losing our balance. We, end up falling, having a fracture, breaking our bones, which is where the exponential process of aging typically happens. Which is what we want to prevent, right? So Urolithin A is one of those. Yeah, and
Urolithin A is actually a postbiotic compound that's produced by obligate anaerobic bacteria in our gut microbiome, like Akkermansia muciniphila, which is considered the keystone bacteria in the gut, right? Meaning that Akkermansia muciniphila means mucus loving, right? So it lives deep in the mucus, and when it eats particularly ellagic acid, which we get from like pomegranate, from astringent fruit like cranberries, pomegranate, muscadine grapes, things like that, it will produce that Urolithin A. But most people have low levels of Akkermansia because they have too much oxygen in their intestinal environment, and so they've killed off a lot of these obligate anaerobes, right? Because the mitochondria aren't working in the actual intestines. Good mitochondria will pull oxygen out of the intestines and allow for these anaerobic bacteria that are so healthy, so beneficial, that produce these postbiotics to be able to really thrive in that environment.
Which is really powerful you said that, because the pomegranate extract is another ingredient that we recommend, because Urolithin A is great to get, but it's a postbiotic of the metabolic byproduct of the microbiome, like you stated. And so we also put in and another longevity ingredient that you want to take is the pomegranate extract, because what it does is it helps to increase Urolithin A. And like you said, this is the powerful process of positive feedback loops, is as you up level Urolithin A and some of these other elements that help the mitochondria, like Hobamine, you end up increasing mitochondrial density and health inside the gut, which then pulls out the oxygen, which then upregulates that particular bacteria. How do you say that again?
The obligate anaerobic bacteria, meaning these are bacteria that can only survive in a very, very, very low oxygen environment. Right. And this particular one is Akkermansia muciniphila.
Akkermansia.
Akkermansia.
Akkermansia. Yeah. So I mean, powerful, right?
Mhm.
Pomegranate, and and again, that's one of the superpower longevity ingredients is urolithin A. So what you
Yeah.
can do to consume foods that can help, up level urolithin A, taking urolithin A, it's extremely expensive ingredient,
Yeah.
extremely expensive. I mean, you're talking about hundreds
It's
of
like it's
dollars.
new. It's a
It's
very
it's a
new
very
ingredient on
new,
the market.
unique
Yeah,
ingredient.
and it triggers that mitophagy. So you have all these old senescent, zombie type
Mm-hmm.
mitochondria in these, intestinal cells, and that urolithin A will basically trigger their death, right?
Yes.
Or their breakdown and then recreation of new healthy mitochondria with those raw materials.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the next exciting, product that
Mhm.
is going to help with us living longer is glutathione,
Mhm.
and the precursors to glutathione.
Yeah.
So L-glutathione is an ingredient that I like to take, and I also put into my formulas that allow for your body's master antioxidant to up level and
Mhm.
get rid of reactive oxidative species. But glutathione is not just something that will help you, neutralize free radicals, that it can actually help to detox environmental toxins and various other toxins out of your body. And a lot of people, they have a deficiency of glutathione. They have a deficiency because of the toxic life that we live. And, I got my lab test back, unbelievable longevity scores. My biological clocks are, 10 years younger, et cetera. And so I'm really blessed and happy to
Mhm.
see that. However, I saw that PFAs were off the charts. And I
Mm.
immediately called some of my environmental toxicologist friends and scientists. And I'm like, my PFAs are off the charts. Why is this? And I'm thinking, okay, it's my water. It's this. I'm drinking, or I'm getting it from maybe plastic that I've been exposed to. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not eating out of plastic. I'm not getting, all of my water's filtered. And it's just the sad reality in which in the world in which we live, that PFAs are all around us. They're in the rainwater. They're in the air, walking through the airport. They're in some of the foods that we get that we
Yeah.
don't even. So I mean, they are.
What are PFAs?
PFAs are like the byproduct of like plastic manufacturing. They're they're also,
Like a nanoparticle,
yeah,
plastic particle.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
And they're also from like Teflon and
Mm.
a lot of the DuPont, like,
Yeah.
production of, pans. Like you go to a 5-star restaurant or hotel, and this is one of my criticisms of these beautiful 5-star. And this is where I'm like, guys, you need to up level 5-star because
Mhm.
they're using Teflon pans. And they're not just using Teflon pans. You look at the Teflon pans, all of the Teflon's chipped out of the pan and into your food.
Mm.
So you're consuming it. So if you've gone to hotels and eaten out at restaurants, they're using a lot of this toxic equipment. So it is unfortunate, but the PFAs are everywhere. They're xenoestrogens. They up level estrogen within your body, and unfortunately, they're all over the place. So
Yeah.
the goal is continue to take things like glutathione that will help to get rid of these products out of your body. And then N-acetylcysteine is NAC, which is the precursor to glutathione. So glutathione, when you take L-glutathione, unless you take a certain form of it, oftentimes it doesn't go throughout your entire body. But if you take N-acetylcysteine, which is a precursor to glutathione, then it can get into all the different cells of your body, and the cells can actually create the glutathione, especially if you are taking things like urolithin A and hobamine, because when you increase one antioxidant, it has a positive feedback on other antioxidants. It's kind of like the tires in a car, right? So let's say hobamine's the top left tire, urolithin A is the top right tire, glutathione's the back left tire, say vitamin C or vitamin D is the back right tire. If
Mhm.
let's say you've got a massive deficiency in vitamin C or glutathione or hobamine or urolithin or something like that, you've got one flat tire, all of the antioxidants are not going to be functioning well. So
Mhm.
the way that I look at creating longevity stacks and supplements is we want to take nutrients that will up level the efficiency and effectiveness of the other nutrients that you're taking as
A
well.
synergistic effect. Is what you're saying, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not just like 1 + 1 nutrient equals 2. It's 1 + 1 equals 10, right? There's some nutrients that we combine that you can get like a 10, 20, 30, 40x impact because of the synergistic impact that they have within the body.
Yeah, for sure. What are any of the other nutrients that you wanted to talk about? You've
Yeah,
made this
so
longevity stack where you've kind of
yeah,
put all of these things
we
together.
we have 20 different nutrients. So there's L-Carnitine, which is probably one of your favorites.
Yeah, L-Carnitine helps shuttle fatty acids into the mitochondria to be used for energy.
Exactly. And you've got NR, right?
Okay.
Nicotinamide riboside. So nicotinamide riboside is the precursor to NAD+.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the longevity community, they're raving about NAD. Or you got to take NAD. There's all these supplements that are trying to help you boost NAD. But unfortunately, a lot of them are ineffective, right? Because they're not using the right kind of combinations of nutrients, or they're not taking the science of, say, nicotinamide riboside has been shown and proven to help increase NAD+. Whereas you take some of these supplements and there's all these other ingredients in it, but they don't want to invest the kind of money into more of the expensive ingredients like an NR. And then they'll say, oh, it boosts NAD+, but you actually need nicotinamide riboside because it's the most researched, precursor to NAD+ to really boost the health of your body. So NAD+ within the mitochondria is another thing that really help increase ATP production and just overall vitality within your body. I can remember the first time I took NAD+, I was over in Scotland, and I'd been taking supplements for NAD+, but I'd never actually gotten the right form of it, into my body. So I got the right form of it in my body, and because these guys are like, oh, this NAD+ is going to change watch what it does inside your body, and I'm like, give me a break, right? Like, I've taken NAD+ supplements, I've got this. I took it, and I was like, boom, like I could feel the difference within the first 30 minutes to an hour. And then I felt really good for the rest of the day. So I was like, I just want to maintain high levels of NAD+ throughout the day. And I'm like, maybe it was because I traveled over to Scotland and, in Europe, and I wasn't getting the best sleeps in the hotels or whatever. And I had a decrease in NAD+, but exercise, like you said, lifestyle, eating healthy, boost NAD+, exercise, boost NAD+, but certainly taking NR is going to be one of those nutrients that does that. It's absolutely essential for cellular health as well as cellular repair, for the genetics within your body. People age rapidly because the free radicals damage the DNA, and then the DNA is essentially miscoding. And so when you elevate NAD+, it helps to protect the DNA, helps to protect the body against damage like that as well.
Yeah, it's super key. When I think about energy production, the mitochondria, we have all these complexes in the mitochondria, and there's basically 5 complexes, and we're trading electrons and protons, and the first 3 complexes are dependent upon that NAD cycle, right? And a lot of times we get stuck because we don't have enough NAD, so the person gets stuck and they're not able to exchange these electrons, protons, and get the energy production. And then, your complex 4 is CoQ10, which you're going to talk about. And then complex 5, one of the key nutrients there that a lot of people are missing is magnesium.
Yes.
When you're able to flow through these 5 complexes and produce lots of energy and a lot of trade-off of these electrons and protons, you feel great.
Yes.
But if there's anything that gets slowed, right, and kind of almost like you're stopped at a traffic light somewhere, then that's going to impact your performance and your overall health.
Absolutely. Yeah. So PQQ and coenzyme Q10, they kind of work hand in hand, like you said. PQQ helps to actually up-level mitochondrial genesis, which is the development of new mitochondria. There's a number of other things that it does, but when it's in combination with all the other ingredients as well as coenzyme Q10 with PQQ will help you not just elevate the number of mitochondria in your body, but increase the efficiency of the mitochondria. So imagine if you're dealing with brain fog and you're elevating mitochondrial density in your brain because of taking these nutrients over time, you're eventually going to hopefully get rid of a lot of the brain fog that you have because of the impact that it has on the mitochondria, energy levels, etc. So coenzyme Q10 is not just good for your brain health. It's, a lot of people talk about how important it is for your heart. So those are two powerhouse nutrients as well.
Yeah, CoQ10, so critical there for energy production. A lot of people get stuck at that complex 4 and they can't move past the stop sign in a sense because they don't have enough CoQ10 on board. And PQQ is kind of an advanced form of CoQ10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So alpha lipoic acid, let's talk about that. It's kind of a detoxification agent, but what it does, it's this fat soluble antioxidant. So it actually helps, like Hobamine helps to protect and reverse the lipid peroxidation, which is the damage of the lipids within the cells. And ALA, or alpha lipoic acid, can actually also support the health of the lipids in the membrane around the cell as well. So ALA is one of my favorites that in combination with glutathione is really good for removing toxins out of your body, which is, it's not a hallmark of aging as a bioaccumulation of toxicities, but I've added it to my hallmarks of aging. But because we know that as you build and bioaccumulate toxins in your body, you're going to age faster. Like it's
one of the main triggers of oxidative stress.
Yeah.
So without a doubt, it's definitely going to age you faster. And what's interesting is you took all of these ingredients, right, and you made this longevity stack. And then because so many people have pill fatigue, right? Like, I swallow so many. I'm a huge supplement taker, so I'm taking lots of different supplements, and a lot of people just get tired of swallowing pills. So you guys have a real unique formulation that you put together.
So if you were to take all of the supplements, right? There's 20 different supplements. We only talked about.
We didn't have time to get to all.
Yeah, we didn't have time. We talked about some of the best, right? But I mean, there's even more that are incredible breakthrough nutrients that, when combined with the other ones in the stack, help to make the longevity stack even more efficient. So and synergistic. So if you were to take all of the nutrients in pill form, you would have to take 600 and what is the number? 658 pills. So 658 pills. Now, if you took all of the different supplements in individual bottles, you'd be taking 20 different bottles, and you'd have to spend close to $1,000, right? In these supplements every single month. The actual number is in the $700 range, right? And so we asked the question, look, people have pill fatigue. I've gagged on pills before. I felt like I've been throwing up taking, so many supplements, but I'm doing it because I'm making a massive impact on my lab markers. But how could we do that and not have to take supplements? Well, we've figured it out. We've created a new breakthrough patented technology that is these microbead supplements that allow for you in one little vial to take all of the 658 supplements that you would have to take throughout the month in this very convenient little dose that you take twice a day. So you take half of it in the morning, half of it at lunch, or half of it at dinner. You take it with food because it maximizes the absorption of all the nutrients that we've hand selected to be in this and to maximize bioavailability. And it's in the particular format and molecular structure that maximizes bioavailability. Because you can take a lot of supplements, you just pee them out of your body. You're taking expensive urine, I guess you could say. But these will actually help you. The way that we've picked and selected the nutrients will help you maximize the bioavailability so that it increases the impact on the body. So no longer do we have to take, 20 different supplements a day for longevity. We can take it in one little vial twice per day using this new patented technology. And we are able to put in Urolithin A, Hobamine, PQQ, the advanced form of coenzyme Q10, pomegranate extract, all of these different ingredients that help you maximize your health and live longer, all in a way that not just will help you save on the amount of pills that you're taking, but literally save you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars and help you live longer, healthier, more vibrant.
Well, I think everybody wants to live longer, healthier, more vibrant, and they want to save hundreds of dollars while doing it. So guys, you can check out this ultimate longevity stack The best place for them to find that is what, elevase.com?
Yeah, they could go to elevase.com, and then hopefully it'll be on drjockers.com as well in the future. But it will be by the time this interview airs, most likely on drjockers.com. But this is a really incredible stack that gets you all the ingredients that is very research backed and addresses all the hallmarks of aging. We started talking about some of the hallmarks of aging, but it will address all the hallmarks of aging in a very powerful way. And you want to stay consistent with this. So month after month, you start to see better and better results taking these different ingredients. And I'm just so excited to get this into the hands of so many people, because I know it's just going to help transform the lives of so many people and help people live longer, healthier, more vibrant lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's, like we were talking about, decelerating that Mack truck going downhill. It's kind of like that with the supplements. You can't expect overnight, like one day, you're going to feel amazing right afterwards. But as you're decelerating that truck and turning it around, you're building that momentum. And over time, you feel better and better and better and stronger, and you're able to thrive at a higher level. Now, question, you said take it with meals, right? And so you're taking it twice a day with meals. What if somebody's doing intermittent fasting and, like, let's say they're eating like a lunch meal and a dinner meal? Would they just take it with those meals?
Yeah, so you just take it with those meals as well. And you can take it with water, right? It's just a matter of just testing it yourself and just seeing how you feel. But
some people are a little more sensitive to taking pills on an empty stomach.
Exactly.
Or even these beadlets than others, right? So
Exactly. But the exciting evolution of what we're doing here is we're actually going to be able to customize each supplement specific to each individual lab test that people take. So this is the future of supplementation, is tailoring the supplement specific to your DNA and your lifestyle, and then the doctor that you're working with can alter it and upgrade it as you go. But it's something that I know is going to change the industry, and I'm excited to bring it to market.
Yeah, really powerful. So people can learn more about this on elevase.com, right? Also Dr. Jockers' store as well. And they can find out more about you on elevase.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
You and your wife, Erica, that we've had on the podcast as well.
That's correct. Yep.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me here. And I just appreciate all the work that you're doing. Appreciate your friendship, your love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And excited to see you continue to thrive.
Well, thank you, Isaac. I mean, you're an amazing guy, amazing human being I've known for over 20 years. Best man in my wedding. He and his wife are my kids' godparents, right? So if God forbid something happened to me and my wife, right, they would be raising my kids. And so this is a guy I trust with my life, and just amazing human being. And so thanks so much for joining us today. Guys, check out elevase.com, check out drjockers.com store, look for the ultimate longevity stack, and start improving your life and your health today. Be blessed.